Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 305th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to be joined by Starr's Mill head coach Chad Phillips. They get ready to square off at home against Perry. It will be the first ever meeting between the two teams. It will be the battle of the Panthers and a great opportunity for both programs that I have a lot of respect for. They've had great playoff runs so far. They're battle tested. Perry's the only remaining number 2 seed. They were the only number 2 seed to make it to the quarterfinals. They dealt with some injuries during this season. They're healthy now. I think it's going to be a great game. So as soon as Coach Phillips is ready, we'll bring him on hopefully in this first segment. I'm also going to cover the historic matchup tonight between Marist and Thomas County Central, looking back at the previous matchups, and then my conversation with Coach Chadwick about just the memories of how big this game has been. Do we have him yet? Okay, well, I guess I'll do that first, and then as soon as he comes on. All right, so this is the Thomas County Central versus Marist matchup. I talked a little bit about it on Wednesday, but obviously learned more. Oh, we got him. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
Doing great. So thank you so much for coming on. It's game day. I'm really excited about this matchup. But first question, just want to ask you, how did you guys get to this point in the season? You're hosting in the semifinals. Just a brief description of how the year went.
Well, I'll be quite honest with you. About after our fourth game, our coaching staff met on a Sunday, and we're looking around at each other, and we're looking dead at a 5-5 year. To be quite honest, we were banged up, had some injuries, and I'm telling you, still coming out of COVID, we've had kids, strep throat, ear infections, you name it, kids missing. I think 4 or 5 consecutive Mondays, we had about half of our offensive line was out with a turf toe injury or with some kind of sickness, and we were struggling. We were playing well on defense, and our defense kept us in some ball games, and we caught Troup County after the week after a major injury to Teo Todd, who is an unbelievably terrific player, and found a way to win, beat LaGrange, put ourselves in a great position, and squandered the opportunity to get Trinity Christian, and then got into the playoffs after Trinity was defeated by LaGrange and Troup as the region champ. And as you know, anytime you're the 1 seed, you're in a really good draw. Played well against Shaw in round 1, and then found a way to beat a very, very talented New Hampstead team. Their quarterbacks and receivers are way above average. And then went over to Central and had a dogfight and found a way to win right at the last play of the game. And so here we are playing a very talented Perry team.
Yeah, I guess we'll start there just with your latest win against Central Carroll. They were undefeated, having a great year, and obviously it came down to the last play. So what was the decision on that play? I saw the video of it. It was incredible, but did you guys come off a timeout? How much time did you have to prepare for that call?
Well, we got the ball with 41 seconds left in the fourth quarter with no timeouts, with a tie score and no field position. And, I told Coach Waller, our offensive coordinator, I said, Coach, we got no field position. We work on overtime every Thursday. We spend a 15-minute segment at practice on overtime. So our kids are confident and our players are our coaching staff's confident in overtime. We work it a lot, but because of this situation. So I told him, so let's see if we can drop a run and get some field position, then we can attack. And Dorsey, sure enough, Benefield broke about a 20-yard run close to midfield, put us in position. We threw what we call Cougar, which is a comeback route to the sideline, got in field goal position. I'm screaming field goal, and our kids are running on the field and saw a flag across the sideline on the far sideline. They called us for ineligible downfield, so 5-yard penalty. Had the ball at the 41-yard line, 5 seconds left, no timeouts, out of range. So I'm sitting there still arguing about the timeliness of the call, and the offense goes back on the field, and Coach Waller and Coach Walker and Penland and our offensive guys, we work a Hail Mary every single Thursday, and we have for 34 years that I've been coaching. That's I'm sure everybody across the state does it, but we do it. Kids feel good about it. We've done it, 15 times this year already, and so Coach called it, and Lincoln D'Elia ran by me, and I'm thinking, well, he's got leverage on this kid, and they're really not in a prevent. They're just soft coverage, and he runs to the end zone. I look back at Logan Ingenauer, our quarterback, and he launched one, and daggum if they didn't catch the ball, and it was pure pandemonium after that. With no time left, the horn went off during the play, and it was just a great walk-off win, one of the top 3 wins in school history.
Absolutely. And you were talking about field goal range. I mean, I've said I think you probably had the best kicker in the entire state. So, I mean, how far is his range? Because it was a tie game, and you guys were probably thinking field goal.
Well, it's kind of coincidental. We have the number 1 rated kicker in the state in Max Prosney, who has been injured the entire season. And our kicking coach recruited a soccer kid out, early in the year, Hunter Meeks, and has done an unbelievable job. He kicked a field goal against New Hampstead on the last play of the half, 45-yarder, and then kicked one in the game against Central on the last play of the half. Was a 38-yarder, I believe. But his range is upper 40s, 48. We feel good 48 and so we were within range on the out route, and then out of range after the penalty, and so we had no option. It was either run the ball and see if you can get a face mask or some kind of penalty and try to kick one, or run the Hail Mary, and coaches called the Hail Mary, and we called it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and I like the description pandemonium, because that's really what it is. In a game that's that close, to just have it suddenly end. We had the Westminster Lovett game last year. It ended in a similar way. Westminster was driving, looked like they were going to win. They fumbled the snap. Lovett picked it up. Game over. And so I remember in that video, you just have people looking around with their hands on their head. They couldn't believe that it just ended like that in such an exciting way. So I think that's what, high school football is all about. You want to go out there and win, but it's just moments like that where, everyone on your stands, the sidelines was just going crazy.
It was an unbelievable atmosphere. Central does a great job with game day atmosphere. They have the LED lights that blink and the music with the sound system that's way above average. And had the lights go in like they do at UGA for the Krypton Fanfare, and both sidelines were included, both stands, and it was unbelievable high school football environment. They have done a great job over in Carroll County, and Superintendent Scott Cowart should be commended with what they're doing with creating an atmosphere like that. I hope we can do that in Fayette County.
Yeah, been an exciting year, but I want to talk about early in the season. You guys played upper classifications, lost 2 close games. Obviously, last year I said you guys were the most talented team that missed out on the playoffs, 7-3, a great region. But you guys weren't crestfallen. You guys responded, ended up winning the region. So what did it take for your players, the leadership, to have some losses early but just pick it up in that region?
Well, one of our core values is resilience, and we talk about that word resilience, and resolve is another one all the time. But, we purposely play East Coweta, Noonan, Sandy Creek, for our pickup games, because it's making our program better when you're challenged the way we are. And I really believe, and our players and our staff believes, that when we compete at a high level against a bigger school. I mean, they're bigger, faster, and stronger. Call it, but we're used to it. Like tonight, Perry is a very, very talented football team. The line of scrimmage is big and strong and fast, and they're going to be a challenge. But when we watch film, we kind of compare it to Sandy Creek and Noonan and EC. We play at Northgate. Northgate was real talented this year, so.
Yes.
To me, it prepares us for this moment, and that's why we play. We challenge. We have a very challenging schedule, to open the season. Next year we play Calhoun. We're playing veterans, and we're going to play Northgate first 3 pickup games. So you need to do that if you're going to move the program forward.
And then, what classification will you be in next year? Is that 5A?
It's 4A still.
Oh,
Yep.
4A.
Region 3,
yeah,
4A.
Yep. That's right.
Yep.
And in Region 4 this year, that was thought the deepest region last year, but I mean, no disrespect to the other teams, but you played all the playoff teams from last year right out the gates. So how did that sharpen the focus just early in the season to really clean up those mistakes and get prepared for those pivotal matchups?
Well, it was a bad draw from I guess for me. We drew LaGrange and Troop right out of the gate, like you said, and especially after playing those non-region games that we played, we were banged up. But the kids again are resilient, and we came out with a great plan. And our quarterback was a sophomore last year, and now he's a junior, and he's an exceptional player. We're a lot more veteran team this year than we were the year before, and that really helped. To start the season. We found a way to beat LaGrange again in our place, and then went down to Troop and got a lead on them. And, again, Teo was out, and they had how we're trying to teach one of their better receivers to play quarterback, but we found a way to win against a much more talented team. I mean, they're going to sign like 5 Power 5 kids, and we're not going to sign one. We just don't have them, but we got a bunch of kids. It's important to them, and they play hard. So, found a way to win that game, and then we let our guard down the next week. So, that's what we're going to have to – that's something we consistently battle, is being consistent with our focus and what we're doing as preparation from week to week. We needed to do a little better of that, and the Trinity loss in the middle of the year kind of refocused us on making sure we're preparing each and every week.
That's right. And I know with the Troop, you mentioned Teo Todd was out. Obviously, he's a game changer, difference maker, but I feel like that had to have been difficult to prepare for because he got injured the week before, so you really didn't know kind of what it was going to look like with their offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, but we kind of felt like Clint Scales is one of the really good wideouts. That we kind of know those guys real well, and we knew they probably forced to play him at quarterback, and they also use that big safety they got that's going to Clemson. His name disappears, Noah Dixon. And they put him – they had, of course, on defense, and they put him everywhere on offense. And they Birdsong, another Division I major prospect they have, they did a good job of kind of putting those guys in playmaking positions, but our kids responded well. And, Teo had been their leader the entire season. And without him, they really had nobody to look, wait to make that play. And that gave us an advantage.
Yep, and then Logan, you mentioned you're more veteran this year. He's a junior quarterback. But who else has stepped up offensively for you this season that was kind of waiting in the wings last year?
Dorsey Benefield is our B-back. And, we've kind of phased out of a majority wing tee. We still run the wing tee a little bit, not as much. We're phasing more into a zone team because of our play action passing and what we're able to do with the pass game and run some counter tray looks and some quarterback reads, power read plays where Logan can read the edge and pull it or keep it or throw it even. So Dorsey's been offered by Harvard. He's getting some looks. He can play. Somebody needs to come in and really look at him. He can play. He's rushed for, I think, nearly 1,500 yards now, has 20 touchdowns. But Anderson Cardoza, who plays our A-back, very skilled athlete. He was offered by Stetson. Of course, Logan, and then our receivers, as talented a receiving group as we've had with Lincoln DeLear, who caught the pass. Thomas Cochran is a very talented freshman receiver, 6'2", really going to be a good player in the future. And then Skip Smith is a sophomore receiver. Those guys offensively, have really come on. And, defensively, you say what you want to, but, we're really some no-name kids. But I believe we finished this season number 4 or 5 in the state in scoring. We just got a bunch of kids that play hard, led by Mike linebacker, Evan Bartek, and Ethan Bramlett, another linebacker, Josh Layton, Taylor Ratno, our safety that we recruited back out to football this year after lacrosse. He was going to be a lacrosse-only guy. Has 9 interceptions, has really played well. Corners, Will Clem. Yeah, Will Clem at one corner, and Eric Lundstrom's our other safety. Real coachable kid. Sophomore. It's going to be, we feel like he might have the potential to be Cole Bishop good in another couple of years. So it's just been an all-around team effort. And our coaches do a great job. They spend a lot of time with these boys, film study and practice and in the weight room. And can't say enough about our staff. There are 12 of us, and they're a very, very great bunch of people.
That's funny. I saw Taylor's stats. I saw 6 interceptions. I thought that was a typo, but it was. He's had 9 this season.
He's got 9 now. Sure does.
That is impressive. And he didn't play last year?
He did not. He played as a 9th and 10th grader and then decided he was going to be a full-time lacrosse kid.
Oh, it looks like we lost Coach Phillips for a
The
second.
first one to tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you he's really thankful that he decided to come out.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the scoring defense, and obviously you guys have limited opponents too, but how has that differed just from previous seasons where, this group just has a knack for the ball?
Well, we've always been ranked pretty high, and we kind of take a little pride in, not score, allowing people not to score. And, again, we don't have superstars, but we've got a bunch of kids that play hard. Up front, Pete West is getting some looks from the Ivy League, and Carson Smiddlecoffer, coach, our D coordinator's son, done a great job. Jared Moore, big 3 technique we got, is going to be really good. And then I've mentioned the linebackers, and I mentioned the whole secondary. Again, the kids are not a bunch of 4- and 5-star players, but they play hard. We watch film every single day after practice, and DBs come in early with their coach, and they're really studying. They're students of the game. They made a huge investment, and they play with a lot of resilience, and they play relentless. Relentless is one of our core value words, and they play as hard as they can play.
Resilience and relentlessness. That's certainly been the season. Well, we talked to Perry earlier this week on Monday. They've had a great season, and I think with them, they've been hiding in the shadows of some of these other big-time Middle Georgia programs like Warner Robins, the Peach Counties, but they've been rock solid. They're having a special year. What stands out? You compared them to the Sandy Creek Northgate, but just with this year's team, what have you been seeing?
Well, they've got an outstanding running back he's hard to bring down, and he's going to be trouble for us. Guy spins and falls forward and throws his hands on the ground, and they got 2 quarterbacks. I understand their starter was hurt for a while. I believe he's back. And big, long kid, can move the ball down the field. 2 really good receivers. The main thing to me that separates them is the line of scrimmage. They're not 6'6", but they're 6'1", 6'2", heavy kids that can really move. And Coach Smith, I spoke to him this week. He and I have really never crossed paths as head coaches. We competed against each other as assistants twice. Starr's Mill played Northside, Warner Robins down in the early 2000s when Chancey Stuckey played. They beat us pretty good. And then a few years later, we played them up here in our stadium, and we should have won the game. We had a really good team. They ran a double post late in the game and threw a ball over our safety to win the game. And we've had 2 real close encounters with them as assistant coaches. This will be the first time as head coaches we've competed against each other. But he's a great guy. Everybody speaks very well of him and the program at Perry and his staff and the life teaching lessons. I believe the game is the greatest teacher of life skills that there is for kids. And they're not learning it anywhere else, but they're just talking to him and people that know about the Perry program. They do a super job of teaching adversity and how to overcome and being resilient and having resolve and being respectful and being resourceful and all those words that we discuss in football.
Certainly, and yeah, he's been doing a great job, and they're obviously battle tested too. They played Houston County close early. and then have responded well. The win over Bainbridge really impressed me, 7-3, so they can win in a variety of ways. But I think looking at their offense, though, Ahmad Gordon, he's going to take a lot of carries, but it seems like they're run-oriented, but they choose when to introduce the pass into the game. So I think just in terms of the big explosive plays, how has your defense fared this season just about limiting the big play?
Well, with the exception of last week when Central Carrollton, I don't remember the boy's name, but he's a Power 5 kid, been offered by Georgia and Alabama. We contained him very well in the first half, and in the second half, he decided he was going to make plays. And we got real high trying to tackle him. We could not get him on the ground, which is my concern tonight with this game is they got a back the same way that's constantly fighting forward. But we've got to do a better job of leveraging tackles, inside, outside, right shoulder, left shoulder, using multiple players to get people on the ground. And that's kind of how we prevent. Our coaches do a great job of using a lot of college style drill work about leveraging from the field, leveraging to the sideline, leveraging to the force player. You know, our guys really work it a lot about really trying to not make a tackle by yourself, but always using your teammate for where and knowing where he's coming from, knowing where he's fitting, so 2 or 3 people can make a play. And if we can do that, you know, we got a chance to stop people.
Yep, and get your hat on the football and produce those turnovers. How important is that, and is that something you harp on, just leverage? I know there's a lot of different ways you can use it, but in terms of just like overall pad level, is that something where if you see guys not playing low enough at practice, you're going to get in their ear and just make sure that that's just ingrained in them?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we got the big donut dummies. I'm sure you've seen. That's kind of the big rave going on now in the NFL and the SEC and everywhere. We've got 5 or 6 of them. We got those things back out because we got up high last week in the second half, and we're trying to tackle people bigger and stronger than us up high. So we got them out. And we got back on those rings and got them on the ground and brought our feet. And, of course, contact points were belt buckle and below. You know, we've got to be belt buckle and below to be able to make plays on a bigger, faster back.
Yep, and just you guys are hosting this game. Did you guys have to bring in any additional bleachers or any modifications, or just going to be another home game?
Well, our stadium is, fortunately, it's pretty big, but we did bring in just some portable bleachers. The county was real good to us. They transferred some bleachers down into the end zones and into some of the areas that we have just to make sure everybody's going to have a place to sit. We got a big, nice scoreboard. We're actually going to hire a portable scoreboard, portable stereo sound system to come in. We've done before in our kickoff classic game, and so it's going to be a great environment. It's going to be a memorable experience for everybody, and we hope the kids go out and really play hard.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Coach Phillips. Thank you so much for coming on. We salute you guys. Best of luck tonight, and maybe we'll see you in Atlanta next week.
All right. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Go Panthers. All right. So really wanted to get both sides of that matchup because I'm really excited about it. Obviously, on the other side of the bracket, you got Benedictine, the 2-time defending champs, going up against Stockbridge, so they'll play that winner. But I think it's going to be a really exciting matchup. Both teams battle-tested, and then I think they've had great playoff runs. I didn't even bring up the big win Starr's Mill had over New Hampstead. That was a great victory. And I just like the way they responded, losing their first 2 games of the season, knowing that we've got the toughest region matchups out the gate, and then they've just been steadily getting better. They have a massive win streak, and I think they've won now 9 of their last 10. The only loss was that close one to Trinity Christian. But let's go ahead. We'll take our first quick break and thank our sponsors.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into our matchup tonight. It will be televised on the Peachtree Sports Network and also streamed on the Atlanta News First app. We've got instructions on how to watch the game posted on scoreatl.com, the top right green tab, how to watch the Peachtree Sports Network. We also have the links out on our Score Atlanta Twitter account, so you can just watch it from your phone if you're at another game or if you're traveling on this Friday. But I'm really excited about it. The last time I went to Marist was the state championship game in 2018. That was when they got snowed out at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they had to move it to home sites, and they played Blessed Trinity. It was a great atmosphere. BT ended up coming out on top. Marist has just been rock solid these last several seasons, just finding ways to win, making deep playoff runs, and just doing what they've been doing since Alan Chadwick took over 39 seasons ago. And so what was interesting when I asked him about what did you think immediately last week when you saw that this matchup was set and Thomas County Central was going to be coming to town, and the first thing he said was, it's not just Alan Chadwick that's kind of the old timer, no disrespect, at Marist, but they have 5 members on that staff that has been there for all those historic matchups with Thomas County Central. So they all know what's at stake. And the big thing about it, when we look at this dynamic of North Georgia versus South Georgia, why is that such an exciting matchup? It's because it garners statewide attention every time. Everyone wants to see who's going to come out on top. Is it going to be the Atlanta school, or is it going to be the South Georgia powerhouse? Well, back in the 90s, when these teams met for the first time, this was the premier Atlanta powerhouse versus South Georgia powerhouse game. And so they've played 8 times already, and the first 6 matchups were all played at the Georgia Dome, which is incredible. So they played 6 at the Dome, and then Marist has hosted once, Thomas County Central has hosted once, and then this one, of course, will be at Marist tonight. So the first ever matchup was in the 1996 Corky Kell Classic. Thomas County Central won that one 32-31, a 1-point victory. They met again in the semifinals, returned to the Dome, and they won by a point again, 22-21. So then Thomas County Central, because the Corky Kell has a 2-year deal, and the teams apparently used to play the same opponent back-to-back back when it first started in the 90s. So they match up again to open the year. Thomas County Central got a 34-16 win, and then in the semifinals that year, 34-28 victory by Thomas County Central. So 2 years, 4 games, and a 4-0 start. So that ended the 1997 season, and then they did not meet again until the 2002 semifinals. And that was the only game that has gone to overtime. So you're talking about the 5th time they've met. All these games have been extremely close. This one goes into overtime. That was before the current format, which is closer to college football, where you get a possession and then the other team takes their possession. This was 5-minute overtime periods, and then they based it off penetration, which team drives further down the field. And Thomas County Central ended up winning this one by a point because they won the penetration, but there was a key play that Coach Chad was telling me. They had a 4th and, I think it was a 4th and 8, 4th and 6 maybe, right at midfield. They had them stopped, and then that play would have, if it was incomplete or if they didn't get the first down, Marist would have gone on to the state finals. Instead, Thomas County Central threw a flare out of the backfield to Joe Burns, a great player that ended up going to Tech and then played for the Buffalo Bills, and one of the better running backs to come through the state. He goes out in the flats, and then Marist had a linebacker that was playing on a bad knee, playing both sides of the ball, and so he wasn't 100%, but he ended up catching Joe Burns, but was just trailing him slightly. Joe Burns extends the ball, barely picks up the first down by a yard, and that's how they won the game. So you talk about the crazy ending to the Starr's Mill game with a Hail Mary. They won that one based off a penetration rule on a single fourth down play. So that was a 35-34 victory that improved them to 5-0 all time. So they met again in the semifinals. This will be the sixth straight time they've played in the Dome, and Marist finally got that victory. They ended up, let me see what the final score was in that one. 35-21. That was 2003. And in 2002, Thomas County Central, after that overtime win, they ended up falling in the finals 14 and finished the season 14-1. So Marist did get the win in 2003, 35-21, and ended up winning the state title. It was their first since 1989. And then Marist obviously won another state title for the third in 2020. And Thomas County Central has 5 all-time state titles. They won them in a 6-year span before the 2000 finals appearance. All right, so then the teams after the 2003 Marist victory, they did not play again until 2012. Marist hosted them. They lost 21-17. And then the next year, Thomas County Central hosted Marist, and they won 28-21. So a decade has passed since their latest meeting in 2013, and Thomas County Central has a 7-1 edge in the all-time series. Marist will look to beat Thomas County Central for the first time since its 2003 state championship season, and I believe they have 4 finals appearances since 2003, going 1-3 in those finals appearances, getting that championship in 2020. So the key to the game, from what Coach Chadwick said, is pretty much a polar opposite to last week's game plan, which was against Roswell. He said with Roswell, it was trying to slow down their offense that was averaging 50 points per game. But this week, the key is just going to be trying to find points, enough points to win against the Thomas County Central defense. That is definitely the strength of their team. He credited Thomas County Central and what Coach Rogers has done there. When asked about what he sees with their undefeated season so far, he says they do everything right. And this goes back to playing Thomas County Central too, just what makes that such a special program. He says, first of all, it's a South Georgia team, and I like this. He says it's the biggest show in town in South Georgia with these communities, whether it's Moultrie, Valdosta, Lowndes, or Thomas County Central. The whole town kind of shuts down on Friday nights. That is, as he correctly said, the biggest show in town. Huge atmospheres, and they take football very seriously down there. They also have great athletes, the coaching, and then he says they just have all the ingredients to put it all together, and that's where the greatness comes from. So it should be an intriguing matchup. I'm excited, but that's just a little bit of the history. So let's get into the personnel matchups with this preview that is up at scoreatl.com. All right, a resurgent Thomas County Central team enters their first semifinals in 16 years to face a test unlike any they have faced in the 2023 season in a rough and tumble Marist team. Thomas County Central has seen a resurgence under second-year head coach Justin Rogers that has seen them return to the standard set by legendary head coach Ed Pilcher making it to the quarterfinals or better in back-to-back years for the first time since 2007 and 2008. Marist has been one of the most consistent programs in the state over living legend Alan Chadwick's almost 4-decade tenure with the War Eagles, making the quarterfinals or better in 28 of his 39 seasons while winning 3 state titles. The two teams have faced each other 8 times. Okay, we mentioned that. Okay, the Yellow Jackets have been dominant this season, scoring 42 points per game while only giving up 8.4 points per outing, shutting out 5 of their 13 opponents. Their offense is led by sophomore quarterback Jalen Johnson and running back Trey Benton, who create an offensive backfield that has proven to be nearly impossible to stop, helping to score 27 or more points in every game except their thrilling 19-16 quarterfinals win over Rome. And you'll remember in that game, I think they used 4 field goals to win that game, including one in the last minute. When asked about the motor of his offense, Coach Rogers had great things to say about his star running back. Troy Benton is a dude. He is a hard-nosed throwback runner, said Rogers. He runs violently with great pad level, and he has good speed to be able to break away. He is truly a back that gets stronger as the game goes on. Certainly something to watch tonight. While the Yellow Jackets have star talent in the backfield, that doesn't mean that they lack talent at the other skill positions. The receiving core is led by tight end Malachi Thomas, who has offers from the likes of Kennesaw State and Georgia State. So I think both teams, tight end is a huge position for them, with Luke Harper starting in that role for Marist. And sophomore receiver Trayvon Pringle, who will have Division I offers before his high school career is over. They have combined for over 900 yards and 11 touchdowns of the team's 17 receiving touchdowns. That's tight end Malachi Thomas and sophomore receiver Trayvon Pringle. They have been hard to stop when combined with the dominant ground game. The depth and grit that these players showed, what Thomas County Central's coaching staff knew all along. I don't really think we learned anything going in, said Rogers. We felt we had a group of guys that were willing to fight, to call, and we felt really strong about our players and their character and the grit they had. The Rome game just exposed what they're all about. And that certainly was a gritty win. And that was a great Rome team, a tremendous defense, and they were behind early in that game. Thomas County Central's defense has been just as, if not more dominant than the offense, giving up over 20-point per games only once against number 4 ranked Lee County in region play. The defensive side of the ball is where the Yellow Jackets' talent really shows. In the secondary, they have 2 FBS prospects in senior Northern Illinois commit Devin Ross and junior Auburn commit Kendarius Reddick, who have both helped them dominate opposing passing games, but will have both to transition to near complete run defense against a run-heavy Marist offense. The defensive line is full of talent, with sophomore 4-star defensive end Cameron Brooks and senior defensive end Walter Reddick. However, they will have to stick to their assignments against the eye-catching triple option of the War Eagles. I think Marist in the second round victory had 370 rushing yards and 10 different ball carriers. So it will certainly be a test for them. With that offense, they're going to keep rotating guys in throughout the matchup. And then they have one of the better fullbacks in the state. All right, Marist has been dominant during 3 games of this playoff run, outscoring its opponents 127-56 en route to their first semifinals appearance since 2020 and their 23rd all-time semis performance. The War Eagles offense is an anomaly in high-end Class 6A football today. The triple option has become a gimmick offense for many teams to make up for a lack of athleticism at certain position groups. However, Coach Chadwick still does it the same way he always has, even with the high-end talent he has. And man, they can just control the clock, control the game, And then Jack Ewert, their quarterback, I think he is the real deal. He had the incredible touchdown right before the half against Blessed Trinity on the road. And he's just a very shifty heads-up player. All right, the Marist offense has become known for its brutal efficiency and perfection, leading to short games and every one of its opponents' mistakes being punished due to the lack of possessions. Adding to the War Eagles' dominance is a massive offensive line led by Nicholas Woodard and Sam Markham, both of whom are 6'4" or taller and tipping the scales over 280 pounds, leading the way for the many rushing threats in the backfield. The Marist defense is as dominant as it has been almost every year in Coach Chadwick's 39 seasons. The defense has only given up 11.6 points per game and 9 points per game since its Week 1 narrow loss to Gainesville. The defense will have to face maybe its biggest challenge against the balanced offensive attack of the Yellow Jackets. The defense will have to quickly differentiate between run and pass and slow the rushing attack and put pressure on Jalen Johnson like few teams have this year, forcing him to make quicker decisions and pull the ball in tight windows while under pressure. This game will kick off at 7:30, so I could not be more excited about this one. I think it will be a defensive battle. Thomas County Central is going to make it very difficult, and I mean, field goals are definitely going to come into play in a game like this. Rome was able to keep them out of the end zone, but if they don't come through and go 4 for 4 on those clutch field goals, they don't win that game. So they're willing to rely on their defense and put 3 on the board and try to produce turnovers. But the question obviously is, will they be able to adapt and stop this triple option? Marist did a great job against Roswell last week, putting up 52 points. Roswell, more known for their offense than defense, but still they have had success in terms of their defense, but they killed them with the pitch, the decision making. Marist practices this offensive system every single day at practice. They have for years, and so if you aren't ready and if you aren't defending as a group against the pitch, they're going to expose you. And they've got guys that can break tackles and keep the ball in their possession. So it's going to be very exciting. All right, so let's look at the other Class 4A matchup real quick before we hit the break. And that is going to be Stockbridge against Benedictine. So can Stockbridge find a way to do what has not been done in many years, and that's beat Benedictine? Stockbridge is the only other remaining semifinalist. It's Benedictine and Stockbridge that haven't lost within Class 4A this season. Its only 2 losses were to Colquitt and Douglas County before its active 11-game win streak. As for Benedictine's win streak, they have a 24-game win streak, and they have not lost a game within Class 4A since the 2020 semifinals against Jefferson, which resided in Class 4A at the time. They're 2 wins away from joining Rare Company and achieving a three-peat, and they have hosted all 4 rounds of this year's playoffs. The last round, Bryce Baker had touchdown runs of 28, 12, 4, and 41 yards as Benedictine rolled over visiting North Oconee 48-26. They trailed 6-0 early, but took leads of 7-6 after the first quarter, 21-13 at the half, and then 27-13 going into the fourth before their big 48-26 victory. Benedictine quarterback Luke Cromenhawk had 1 touchdown run and tossed a 14-yard scoring strike to LaDon Bryant. He has been outstanding for them, was a huge part in their state championship win over Cedartown last year, before Ack Edwards capped off the point production with a 2-yard plunge late in the fourth quarter. For North Oconee, in that game, Harrison Faulkner had a touchdown run and threw a touchdown pass. I think if you were to look at the box scores, which I tried, but they didn't have them on Max Preps, and look at second half points this season, I think Benedictine might be the best team in the state in terms of their margin and then their opponents. They've had to come back in certain games this season, but their defense has been lights out in the second half, and they can get better as the game goes on. So I think that's going to be the key. Stockbridge is going to have to gear up for a 4-quarter game. You have to get off to a strong start, but they cannot let Benedictine do what they've done in the second half to opponents this year. And I think a good sign for Stockbridge is they played a very tough 4-quarter game against Westminster in the second round where they had to rally. The season was on the line, and they got a thrilling 28-24 comeback victory. The Tigers have won by 35 points per game despite that 4-point win over Westminster against 4A opponents this year. They've absolutely crushed them. In the quarterfinals, Jaden Scott, he is definitely capable of being the best player on the field tonight. He's been tremendous. He had 3 touchdown runs in the quarterfinals, including from 43 and 21 yards out as Stockbridge cruised to a 35-14 win over Spalding. They led 14-0 after the first quarter and halftime before they extended it to 21-0 going into the fourth. And so that is the Stockbridge game right there. Player to watch, Jaden Duke Scott for sure. But yeah, second half will be interesting in that one. I think it's going to be a battle. I think both those matchups, Stockbridge Benedictine, Perry Starrs Mill, are going to be really fun. But let's go ahead. We'll take one more break, and we'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back. So in this last segment, I'm just going to talk about the teams in the semifinals, how many times they've been there, and a couple of the more impressive stats surrounding that, and also just the national polls. If you want my picks and predictions, you got to tune in to the pregame show at 7:30, and Kaylee and I think Rusty, although he tries to avoid having to make picks, I think because he's more involved in the recruiting scene, so he doesn't want to. He wants to be neutral. But Kaylee and I will make our picks starting at 7:30. But these are the teams in the semifinals that have the most all-time semifinal appearances. Some really impressive numbers. Starting with Marist, this is their 22nd semifinal that they have reached. In Class 2A, you're going to have Fitzgerald. They're playing in their 16th semifinal, and they've also been, I think, to the finals like 5 out of the last 6 years. They lost a really close game last year to Thompson. Cartersville is appearing in its 13th semifinals. You got Brooks County in its 11th. Tied at their 9th is Cedar Grove and Prince Avenue Christian. At 8, Benedictine, Bowden, Manchester, Rockmart, and Thomas County Central. At 7, and this one was a drought that has been snapped this season, Camden County, and they join Carver, Columbus, and Grayson at 7, in addition to Swainsboro and Woodward Academy. With 5 semifinal appearances, Cook and Jefferson with 4, Milton, Savannah Christian, and Walton with 3, Calvary Day. They made it last year as well. Coffee, Creekside, Pierce County, Starrs Mill, and Stockbridge making their second and first since 1988. Douglas County with one, Perry and Sly County. Sorry, I almost did it again. Sly County. So there you have it in terms of the most. It is Marist with 22. That is incredible. So only 32 of the GHSA's 412 football teams are still standing, and they'll be cut in half Friday night with 16 semifinal matchups. The winners go on to play at Mercedes-Benz. Those games will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, not this upcoming one, the one after that. Those still standing include Class A upstarts Bryan County and Telfair County, along with Perry and Stockbridge, each gunning to make the finals for the first time. It has been more than 20 years since Cook, 1949, Douglas County, 1964, Woodward Academy, 1980, Manchester, 1997, Thomas County Central, 2002, played for a championship, and each is now one victory away. The defending champs still in it are Benedictine, Prince Avenue, and Bowden, and they want to get back to defend their titles. And then the finalists that are still in it, it's just going to be Cedar Grove, Fitzgerald, Swainsboro, and Slide County. A couple closer looks into some of these. Camden County's 39-20 victory over 16-point favorite Mill Creek was the quarterfinals' biggest upset on paper. Mentioned a 16-point favorite. Mill Creek joined Buford, Carrollton, and Colquitt as teams with top 25 national rankings that were eliminated last week. Two quarterfinals were won on the final play. That was Drew Renault's 31-yard field goal that lifted Thomas County Central to a 19-16 win over Rome. And then Logan Anagawa's 41-yard Hail Mary pass to Lincoln Delaire to give Starrs Mill a 35-29 victory. Manchester scored 2 touchdowns and recovered an onside kick in the final 3 minutes to upset Clinch County 21-17. Let's see. Teams to beat. The number 1 ranked teams remaining in the playoffs are Class 5A Coffee, 4A Benedictine, 3A Calvary Day, A Division 1 Prince Ave, A Division 2 Sly County. Walton at number 2. They're number 1 in my poll. They are the highest ranked remaining team in 7A, and they have never won a state title. Thomas County Central is number 2. They're the highest ranked team in 6A left in the poll. Now the underdogs, Brooks County, Telfair, and Camden County are the only unranked teams remaining in the playoffs. Only Camden County hasn't been ranked at any point during the season. Pretty incredible. And this is going to be their 4th straight trip up to Atlanta. They had the Newton win, the McEachern win, the Mill Creek Road win, and now as a number 3 seed, they will head to Walton. Okay, the next best. Number 1 Coffee of 5A has never won a state title, and the Trojans traveled to number 4 ranked Cartersville. So in terms of a top 10 matchup, that's the best on paper. Number 1 versus number 4, a program that moved ahead of Buford last week for a state-leading 126 victories during the past 10 season. That is Cartersville. Rematches. Slide County is playing Bowden. It's a rematch of last year's state finals that Bowden won 39-31. That's been a big trend this postseason. The teams that lost last year have been very successful at avenging those losses. Creekside is a 1-point favorite over Jefferson. That's listed as the hardest pick of the semifinals. And then the biggest underdog is Camden County, which is a 16-point underdog to Walton. In terms of road trips, these are definitely some pretty long ones. Camden County is traveling 354 miles to Walton in Cobb County. The Wildcats have traveled 2,744 miles in 4 playoff rounds. Could be a factor, and that's just one way. My goodness. That is about the distance from Camden County's Cumberland Island to the Golden Gate Bridge of San Francisco. Great job, Todd, with that stat right there. That is crazy. 8 teams will be traveling more than 200 miles this week. They are Bryan County, 200 miles, Stockbridge to Savannah, that's 234, Coffee to Cartersville, that's 238, Savannah Christian, that is 240 miles. That's going to be to Carver. And then Thomas County Central is coming 240 miles to Marist. Calvary Day 246 to Cedar Grove, and then Cook 252. That is crazy. And then the shortest trip is going to be the 25 miles that separates Woodward Academy and Douglas County. So lots of travel with these matchups. That definitely could be an impact. See if the fans were able to get trips coordinated to carpool to some of those matchups, but that's tough. Okay, the regions. All selections of the state are represented. There are 5 coastal Georgia teams. Those are Bryan County, Camden County, and Savannah private schools. Savannah Christian, Calvary Day, and Benedictine. The only school system with multiple teams left is Fulton. Interesting. That's Milton and Creekside. And then Gwinnett has only 1 team, Grayson, for the second year in a row after qualifying 6 in the semifinals back in 2019-2020. Quarterback spotlight. Let's see. The state's most famous quarterbacks, Juju Lewis, Dylan Raiola, Aaron Nolan, are out, but there is more where that came from this year. The quarterbacks still in the playoffs. You got Wake Forest commit Jeremy Hecklinski of Walton, Miami commit Luke Nickel at Milton, Florida State commit Luke Kromenhawk from Benedictine, Tennessee commit Jake Merklinger from Calvary Day, EJ Colson UCF commit from Cedar Grove, and Georgia Tech's Aaron Philo, Prince Avenue Christian. So still some great quarterbacks remaining. And then the last point, Friday's winners will get extra rest before the finals. Those are going to be December 11th through December 13th at the Benz. But that is all I got for you, making my last trip, or last Friday trip of the season. We'll be back tomorrow, though, with the Corky, Kell, Dave Hunter Basketball Classic that's going to tip off at Norcross High School. We got 4 matchups. We'll be there bright and early, so you guys can check that out before the championship action. But we will see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in, and safe travels.